Hello and welcome to Basics for Gamers presents Just the Basics of Thievery in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Just the Basics is a special series that takes some of my longer courses and condenses all of the need-to-know information into about 10 minutes. If you would like to see the full presentation on Thievery with all of the extra detail and examples, you can find it linked in the description. The first Thievery action is called Palm an Object and is used whenever a player wishes to pick something up without being noticed. For example, they try to take an item from a store without the shopkeeper catching them. To do this, the player rolls a Thievery skill check which is contested by the perception DCs of everyone within view of the theft. If the player succeeds, then that creature does not notice them taking the item. If they fail, then the creature notices and it's up to the GM to determine how they act. And a few other points about palm an object. First, it is intended that the item being palmed be of negligible bulk, but larger items might be possible to be palmed with the GM's permission, and also likely with a suitable increase in difficulty as well. Second, the item is picked up no matter what. The character can't decide that they don't want to take the item once they fail the check and realize they've been noticed. Third, palm an object is used for picking up an item without being noticed. But if you wish to hide an object you are already carrying, you would use the conceal an object application of the stealth skill. In fact, a GM may require a player to make both checks in a lot of circumstances. They would spend an action to palm an object when they pick up an item in a store without being noticed. That would be a thievery check, and would then spend another action for conceal an object, a stealth check, when they attempt to walk past the shopkeeper and out the door. And last, the item must be unattended. Unattended basically means it's not in the possession of another character. You could not use palm an object if you wanted to pick someone's pockets. For that, you would use the second thievery action, steal. The steal action is used to take a small object from another character without being noticed. As with palm an object, this is intended to be an item of negligible bulk. Also, you automatically fail if the target you are stealing from is in combat or on guard. Mechanically, this works almost the same as palm an object. The character trying to steal rolls a thievery check that is contested by the perception DC of the target and others within view. And note that the standard steal action assumes that the item that's being taken is loosely worn or easily accessible, and the GM will apply penalties to the thievery check as appropriate. For example, a -5 penalty if the item is not out in the open but is instead inside of a pocket, or apply a larger penalty if the item is buried in someone's backpack or other circumstance. The third thievery action is called Disable a Device. As the name implies, this action is used when a character wishes to manipulate a piece of machinery in such a way that it no longer functions as intended. The most common use of disable a device is disarming traps. Most uses of disable a device require the use of thieves' tools. This requires trained proficiency and costs 2 actions. Then the player rolls a thievery check versus a DC set by the GM. Most devices require multiple successes to disable. On a successful check, the player gains 1 success towards disabling that device. On a critical success, they gain 2 successes towards disabling the device, plus they leave no trace of their tampering and can rearm the device later if they choose. On a failure, no progress is made towards disabling the device, and on a critical failure, they trigger the device. The last thievery action works almost identically to disable a device, but is specifically intended for disabling locks. Just like with disabling a device, pick a lock requires you to be at least trained in thievery and costs 2 actions per attempt. You must have thieves' tools to pick the lock, and just like devices, locks may require multiple successes to open. The player rolls a thievery check versus a DC set by the GM or by the lock in question. On a successful check, they gain 1 success towards opening the lock. On a critical success, they gain 2 successes towards opening the lock and leave no evidence of their tampering. And on a failure, no progress is made towards opening the lock, and on a critical failure, they break their thieves' tools. And one last note, it is possible to use improvised thieves' tools, for example, maybe a hairpin, but it is considered as shoddy, meaning you suffer a -2 to any checks made with that improvised tool. Before we close, I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our patrons. These videos would not be possible without their continued generosity and support. Members of the Basics for Gamers Patreon community receive special benefits, like getting to vote on the topics that we cover in the future, and also they get to see these videos 1 week and ad-free before everybody else. Visit the link shown on the left of the screen and in the description if you'd like to know more about becoming a patron. If you would like to support this channel and help it grow, the easiest way to do that is by subscribing and clicking the bell icon so you get notified when new videos release. And we can always be reached through our Twitter and Facebook pages too. Thanks for watching, take care, and we will see you soon with more Basics of Pathfinder.